the latest, greatest camera that you just can't live without. Camera companies want to sell you new stuff all the time. So I want to explore an important question, and it's not a joke. Can getting a new camera actually make you a better photographer?
Hey, I'm Mitchell. For the past decade, I've been living my dream, journeying around the world as a professional travel photographer. During this time, I've seen and I've learned a lot. And now I want to share the knowledge with you. Come along on the journey.
You really want that new camera. It has features that you didn't have access to before. Everyone's talking about it, but can it make you a better photographer? Or let's rephrase, can it help you become a better photographer? The standard answer, the camera you use doesn't matter, it's the vision that matters. And sure, it does. But for me, as a travel documentary photographer, I don't think the answer is so simple. Like if I said that I couldn't make these kinds of images with almost any camera today, I'd be lying. But these photos, I'd be lying if I said that I could make them with just any camera. And I'll later tell you why. It has to do with my favorite camera features. I'm in the south of Turkey today. Beautiful area. Had a whole month of family time, even my parents came to visit. Now everyone is gone and I'm gonna follow soon into the cold of the European winter. And before that, I'm just enjoying the last warm days and hoping for a swim or two. I've really been thinking about whether a camera can make you a better photographer or not. I've come to some interesting conclusions that I'll be sharing with you. This video is either gonna save you money, or you might end up getting a new camera because you've been missing out on something amazing. I definitely want to know what you think about this question, about what I'm going to tell you, so please do share your thoughts in the comments below. What kind of camera can make you better? I think it's safe to say this, the brand doesn't matter. If you enjoy using your camera, it'll get you out making photos. And this is definitely helping you become a better photographer. We learn, we gain experience through making photos. So a camera that you enjoy, that's a good start for what'll make you better. Enjoying your camera. Big, heavy DSLRs and lenses. For the travel documentary photography that I do, it was a real chore, a pain to carry these around all day. I'm obviously exaggerating in that photo, but it was not enjoyable. My first small camera was the Fuji X100S. Here are some images from that camera. It was really small, discreet. I didn't think twice to take it anywhere. I loved it. Loved the freedom that it gave me. It was limited though. Yes, I did get most of what I wanted, but the autofocus was crappy. And for stuff like this, real life action and documentary scenes, manual focus is just too slow. What you're not seeing are the opportunities that I missed out on, or the frustration of getting the thing to focus how I wanted. Later, I got an equally small but a more powerful camera, the Panasonic Lumix GX7. Looked similar to this one. This is the Lumix GX80. It had a changeable lens mount and other important features that the Fuji didn't have. I'll get into those in just a bit. The main point so far is that I enjoyed this camera even more. I took it everywhere and everything became a potential photo subject. Even started photographing my own friends and family. Never did that before. But this added a lot of personal value to my images. This camera, or this type of camera, has now accompanied me since the end of 2014. So enjoyment for me came from using a small but powerful camera system. It led to more possibilities, more photos, and as I've already said, that's a start to improving, but there is more to it. Here are some specific features which I believe helped me grow as a photographer. A couple of game changers, especially if you have both of these features. Great autofocus and a flip screen. I much prefer this one rather than the fully articulating one, but that's a separate topic which I'll avoid here. How have these features been game changers? Firstly, I can avoid signaling that I'm taking a photo. I don't need to do this. I can be more discreet than ever before. This is how I hold the camera most of the time now, but if I don't have a great autofocus with this shooting style, I'll end up with a lot of frames with missed focus. On the Lumix, I have amazing touch focus. I touch and the camera autofocuses on that spot or area. You could say, well, what's the big deal? Photographers have been shooting from the hip for a really long time. But make no mistake, there's a huge difference in how much more efficient it is this way. The flip screen also means that I can shoot from any angle with no fuss, and I can actually see what I'm framing. No need to lay down or roll around on the ground, or whatever silly stuff we had to do before to get the image. These features are in some of the DSLRs in case you're really attached to the DSLRs, but the next one, the silent shutter, is not. It's only found in mirrorless cameras, and the silent shutter, it allows you to be even more discreet. Silent shutter means there's no click, 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 which could totally change the dynamics of what's happening in front of the camera. Now, some of those photos in the beginning, I said that I couldn't make them with just any camera, and I hope it's now starting to make sense why. It'd be so hard to get this photo without being able to raise the camera like this, pointed down, while still seeing what's on the screen and then touching to focus. And I did it while I was on a moving horse carriage. With this one, I crouched and kind of held the camera out like this, almost in the fire. The fire can really throw off complete autofocus, so touch focus was really useful here. And this photo, this is the product of all these features that I've just mentioned. But the silent shutter was really key. If they heard that shutter click, it's likely that the moment would have been killed. Very quick mention of my educational website, the Photographic Process. On it, you'll find free ebooks on topics that range from people photography, natural light, post-processing, and there's even a condensed version of a behind-the-scenes look at my award-winning photos. Joining the Photographic Process is absolutely free, and more content will be added. My final favorite feature is stabilization. A few cameras have it now, and stabilization allows for photos like these to be made handheld. It's not something I can't live without, but it does open up additional possibilities. How does a camera help you become better? These features, they've obviously not automatically transformed me into a better photographer, but they have definitely helped. Of course, whether you've become better is sometimes not that clear from the outside. And it's subjective too. Looking at my work, some people might not think that I've become better at all. They might like my earlier work more, these portrait type photos. But I know I can create these less spontaneous images fairly easily now. You can make them with virtually any camera these days too. I choose to create different work, focusing on moments, little nuances, getting into intimate situations, shooting from different angles. For me, this is all more challenging and more exciting. The features I've been talking about are tools that help me achieve what I want. Even if I could do some things without the great autofocus, the flip screen, the silent shutter, the stabilization, I have a higher success rate with these features. I'm just more efficient. It might not be obvious to outsiders how you've grown, how you've improved, but you know it. And those who really understand photography, they'll notice your growth too. It's time for a quick interjection to tell you about my behind-the-scenes video course. If you're into travel photography, especially photography of people, the course is something that you'll find really useful. I explore the entire creative process, starting in the field and finishing in the digital darkroom. It's super in-depth and it aims to help you create award-worthy travel photos. When should you get a new camera? My advice, take it for what it's worth. Ask yourself, do you feel limited or inefficient with your current camera? Do you know for a fact that certain features in the new camera will remove those limitations and inefficiencies? I've mentioned the features that are important to me, and I believe that they can be useful to anybody who's into the same type of photography as I am, travel, documentary. And I don't want to encourage you to spend money, but there comes a time when it's worth buying that new camera. And if you've never tried out the features that I've talked about, if you haven't seen what they can do for your photography, then you should at least go to a camera store and try them out. Now, if your current camera already has most of the features that I've talked about, then there honestly isn't a reason to get a new camera. At least not for stills. Well, okay, there is this one other thing that's really worthwhile. I haven't mentioned it yet. I'll get to it in just a sec. Something of an unexpected twist. So far, I have been predominantly referring to the Panasonic Lumix system. And some of you may know that I am a Panasonic Lumix ambassador. But as I've said, the brand really doesn't matter. I'm just talking about what I like most, not converting anyone. And you might be surprised what I'll tell you next. Let me show you some images. All of these were taken at pretty high ISOs. Decent quality, but I honestly cannot go higher than something like this in 90% of the situations. The Micro Four Thirds sensor just doesn't do high ISO that well. And that's the one big knock on it, especially when the full frame sensor cameras do so well at high ISOs. Anyway, I got myself the Sony a7 III. Full frame sensor can do 6400 ISO or even much higher in some situations, and that's that other feature that I find really useful. Great high ISO capability. The a7 III also has the flip screen, silent shutter, amazing autofocus, there's that full frame aesthetic, and better dynamic range too. The last couple of things are not huge for me, but it's nice to have them. However, look at the size of this thing. With this setup, it's almost as large as the DSLRs that I so gladly left behind. And you know, before getting the a7 III, I thought that maybe I overreacted all those years ago. Maybe these larger cameras are fine to take around, and this one is way better than the older DSLRs just because of all the features that it has and how enjoyable it is. But I gotta say, I have found myself leaving the a7 III behind much more often than I did with the Lumix. I think that this camera, an amazing camera, is gonna have to play some roles for me. I'll certainly use it for shooting in low light, and I think I'll also bring it when I already know people or when there's no need to be discreet. We're in an amazing time for photographers. Despite there not being a single perfect camera for me, the choice is still so much better than it ever was before. Now, anybody with common sense understands that no camera on its own will make you a better photographer. But take a camera that's enjoyable to use, that has some of these amazing new features, and it can definitely play part in helping you become a better photographer. I know that has been the case with me. So that's it for this video. Tell me what you think. What's your favorite camera? What features do you not want to do without? Do you feel like you've grown since getting a particular camera? Please like this video, subscribe, click that little notification bell not to miss out on new videos. Here's what I suggest you watch next, and I'll see you again in the not too distant future.